All right, you guys, welcome to this week's Team Elite Weekly Call. My name is David Lamro, and I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. It is December 24th, so Christmas Eve, but Merry Christmas for 2018, you guys. I love each and every one of you, and I hope that you have an incredible time to spend with your family and with other loved ones and with your family and friends here at Team Elite. So guys, we're going to get into some incredible content here today. A great way we're going to announce something special for next week. And we're also going to be going over a couple of different things to help you set up 2019 for your best success in 2019. So first off, the announcement is we have been talking about giving out the Team Elite Awards. All right. So next week, there are going to be, and we're going to be figuring out who to give out these awards to, and we're going to be announcing it on the Team Elite Weekly Call next week, okay? It's going to be the last Monday of the year. And we wanted to make this an annual thing where we give out and we recognize you for all your hard work that you've been putting in over the year, okay? So we're going to be having different categories like fastest sign up and like perfect attendance to like the LVAs and the Elite Academies and most personally developed and things like that. So stay tuned for that, you guys, because you could be one of the ones that gets the Team Elite Award next week, okay? Just because we wanted to love on you and we wanted to recognize you for all that you've been doing and all your hard work, okay? So that's that. Stay tuned for that next week on the next weekly call. Now, I wanted to go over 4 things. Okay, real quick, before we get to our main speaker for today, I wanted to go over 4 quick things for you to avoid to help you set up yourself for success in 2019. Now, I'm not going to expound on these things because I've already done that in a live video on my Facebook page. Okay, it's on my Facebook personal profile. So if you'd like to hear a little bit of an explanation or a little bit diving deeper into each one of these, then go look up my Facebook profile and watch that live video I just got through doing. So number 1 is you want to avoid having too many different training voices in your ear, okay? You want to avoid the new shiny object of the week. Find a mentor that you can relate to and stay focused, okay? Just get to work. Number 2, you want to avoid having too many social media platforms that you're focused on, okay? Find one. I recommend either Facebook or YouTube because those are search engines, and stick with them. Master those. Number 3, you want to avoid consuming content without implementing it, okay? You don't want to become a professional student. You actually want to take what you've learned and act on it. That's what's going to make 2019 so much better, is just acting on the information, the content that you get. You don't want to be a professional student, okay? Number 4, you want to avoid giving into your excuses, okay? That's a huge one, okay? That really cuts deep. You can either make money or you can make excuses, but you can't make both, okay? So those are those 4 things. Avoid too many training voices in your ear. Avoid having too many social media platforms that you're focusing on. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. Avoid consuming content without acting on it. And you want to avoid giving into your excuses, okay? And again, if you want to hear a bit more explanation on those 4 points, go find that video on my Facebook profile page, and it should help you a little bit with that. So without further ado, I wanted to hand this off to our leader, one of our incredible leaders, Mr. Matthew Wesley. He's going to be going over some incredible power-packed content on stories. So Matthew, go ahead and take it over, buddy.
Thank you, David. Can you hear me okay? All right, awesome. All right, everybody, I want to wish everybody, first of all, a very Merry Christmas. This is a busy time of the year, and it's such a great time for everybody to get together with family and friends and to just never forget that Jesus really is the reason for the season. And of course, we give thanks and honor to him for everything that he did for us, and we get to celebrate in the meantime. So again, everybody, Merry Christmas. Thank you for being on this Zoom. We're really excited about this information we have to share. David, thank you so much for going over that stuff. Excited to go check out that video that you did on your Facebook page, man. Always such good information. All All right, everybody, last couple of weeks, I've been trying to go over some of the information that I got from the Building Depth training in St. George, Utah. I believe we started with kind of going over the 5 core habits. Last week, we talked about filling your pipeline. We talked specifically about it for this time of year, but that's an activity that you do year round. This isn't a seasonal business that we're in. We're in a year-round business. Filling and keeping your pipeline full is vitally important. That way you're not just trying to work with the same select handful of people, but you've constantly got new contacts coming in and you're steadily moving people through the system to get them to some sort of a decision, either a yes decision or a no decision. No meaning not right now, and then they go up on your follow-up list, and that's still keeping them in your pipeline. Filling that pipeline now to jumpstart the new year, kind of tipping a little bit off of what David mentioned about starting your 2019 right and hitting the ground running to begin building. You can start now so that you've already got good traction come the first of the year rather than waiting till the first of the year and then trying to build your traction. So filling your pipeline. Today, I wanted to touch a little bit on your story, on the story. One of the strongest elements of building depth is learning the stories, learning how to tell your story. What is your story? Learning different versions of your story. Do you have a 60-second version of your story? Do you have a 7-minute version of your story? How do you share your story? You know, in this industry, we find out getting into here it's very different than anything we've experienced. Any type of schooling that we go to does not prepare us for this. Any type of corporate job, industry, punching the clock management, nothing prepares us for how unique and different this industry is. Being a good storyteller is like having the Midas touch in this industry. The best storytellers tend to grow their business, teach that skill to their people, and they grow their business. Going to building depth, there's hours upon hours. In fact, that whole first day, all of these elites, and there was 14 of them there last time, a great majority of them get on stage and they go over their story. They're sharing their story. Some of their stories I've heard several times. But every time I hear it, I gain a new understanding. They're not just telling their story just so that they can be talking about themselves. They're doing a live demonstration of how important it is to know your story and to tell it well. Going to the events, you learn all of these people's stories, all of the stories of these elites and other distributors, not just elites, 79s and 10s, but also of Pro 5s, Pro 4s, Pro 3s, Pro 2s, Pro 1s. Everybody has an impactful story. And when we go to the events, we're hearing these stories, we're connecting with these people. Most of the time we're exchanging phone numbers, and then we have another contact in our phone to hook up with one of our prospects. So if you have a hairdresser prospect, I actually have 2 phone numbers in my contacts of distributors who are hairdressers. One lady owns a salon, and another lady has been cutting hair for 9 years. She just wanted to cut. She didn't want to own a salon, but they've got very powerful stories. By doing that, I can go and I can talk to a lady in a salon or a hairdresser and really connect her with somebody that they can speak the same language. There's that camaraderie. There's that common ground, and they can understand each other much better than if I were to just try and talk and visit with them. So that's benefit number 1 of attending any and all events, is because you're going to be able to hear these stories. Learning the stories, being able to use stories. I don't know how many of you know Tony Krashowitz. I'm sure we've all heard of him. His story is a tear-jerking story. What he went through in his journey to get to Pro 9 is remarkable. It is incredible. And it all started with having 7 kids at home and wanting to be home, wanting to be a present dad and husband, and not constantly fighting to get into the truck to go make their income and then get home to get out of that truck as soon as possible. And it was this constant battle that kept him in such turmoil. He found LifeVantage and he started working it. And over the course of the last several years, he has reached the rank of Pro 9. Now, he was working this business with Clinton Boyles. Everybody's heard of Clinton Boyles. If you guys have not heard the expanded version of what Clinton Boyles went through from just before day one, leading up to where he is now, you have got to hear his story. There is not a single person on this planet who has any obstacle or excuse large enough. When you hear Clinton's story, it puts it all in perspective. What that guy went through, because he had his eye on the prize, he knew what he wanted and he knew where he wanted to be. And he had, he had Marcel Niederhauser telling him, this is how you get there. Marilyn Johnson. She's somebody that has become very near and dear to my heart. Lady was working 4 jobs. She owned her own business, just trying to make ends meet. She cleaned houses. Her most favorite thing to do every day was cleaning toilets. And some of these houses had 3, 4, and 5 toilets because she was cleaning some very large houses. She wanted out of that so bad. She was having to work literally all of these jobs, all of these hours just to support and supply for her family. She actually is the one that brought Everett Shillings into the business. Now, Everett, everybody says, I don't have time, I work a lot. That man was working 80 to 90 hours a week. Go ahead and put a calculator to that. That's literally working 7 days a week. That's what this guy did. When he found LifeVantage, he had a construction company building shopping centers and large office buildings. They would build them and then they would lease them out to the corporations and the companies that wanted to be in there. He was also developing a trucking company. He was getting a trucking company going, and he was also in the pipeline industry. So he had 3 major corporations that he was working. He was gone from home literally all the time. And again, working 80 to 90 hours a week. And he still found time to build this business, Pro 8 Everett Shilling. So when you start hearing these other people's stories, you start to realize, what do I have to complain about? What do I have that I'm allowing to take precedent in my life over this? Now, there are some things that everybody's on a different timeline, different schedule. There are some things that they may take precedent in your life. Of course, we're going to take some time off to celebrate with family and friends for this holiday season, but we're not going to take off a whole entire week. We didn't take off a week or 2 for Thanksgiving. We're not going to take off a week or 2 for Christmas, because we know where we want to be. So in steadily working in our businesses is how we get there. That goes back to filling your pipeline and keeping it full. One thing that has helped me relate and have conversations with other people more so than anything, more so than our products, more so than the opportunity, has been the stories. Knowing the stories of some of these people that I mentioned. Also, I share David's story a lot. I share Caleb's story. I share Izzy's story. I share the story of the people around me that are on their way to the top, and I also share the story of the people that are at the top. Kai Hayes, because she is such a recent spotlight to this year, making Pro 7 this year and then breaking Pro 8 just the other month. She is one that I have been able to share her story a lot. Moving to this country as a single mom from the Philippines, not knowing anybody, not even being able to speak very good English at all. And she has built a Pro 8 business out of LifeVantage. I mean, that's what she had to overcome. Her adversities are incredible. And then when you throw into what she dealt with in the last couple of years with Greg's struggle and what they went through together as a family, and her having to step up and be the breadwinner because of what he was going through. If you don't know her story, you got to plug in. You've got to hear what they went through and where they have gotten to now. So the stories are incredibly powerful. Dan, we've got a story for everything. Dan Mollering, construction guy, Irish roofer, guy comes from an Irish family. He stuck with LifeVantage for 2 years and did not enroll a single distributor. Now, he had hundreds upon hundreds of preferred customers. Basically, he was a vitamin salesman, and he thought he knew how to build it until he went to Marcel and said, look, I'm failing. I need to do something because I can't let this go down the tubes and go to my family and listen to them say, yep, I told you so. So his Irish pride is what kept him involved and got him down off the roofs and got him out of that dangerous situation of being a construction worker. Because every day he knew that he was just a slip, trip, or fall away from total financial and physical disaster. So Daniel Moellering, another powerful story, learning how to get out of doing it wrong, start listening to the people who built it, follow the system, and get yourself to Pro 7, Pro 8. So the stories, I go back and forth about whose story should I use for what prospect I'm talking to. And because I have an arsenal of people that I know and an arsenal of stories that I know very, very intimately, because I keep going, and I might hear the same story again and again, but I'm learning it from a different angle. I'm learning new facts about it, and I'm learning it at a deeper level of intimacy. Dang, I forgot to start my timer. So learning your stories goes hand in hand with attending events. We always hear about attend all events. I went over the 5 core habits a couple of weeks ago. 15 or more presentations, attend all events. They are non-negotiable. Always do what you say you're going to do. Stay in control of your business and promote. You promote from event to event. Get into that on another Zoom. Attending the events. That's number 2 on the list, guys. Why do you think they put that as number 2? They're in that order for a very specific reason. Learning the stories goes with attending all of the events. Attending all of the events helps to build our belief, build our faith, build that connection, kind of give us that shot in the arm for the next 30 days or however long it's going to be between events. The importance of following what they're teaching is what gets us to where we need to go. We're not going to go to a job and get hired on as a new employee and tell our manager, our boss, our supervisor, no, I got this. When they're going to say, okay, well, this is how I want you to do this, and this is how you do, and then you just go, yeah, okay, you nod your head, and then you go do it your way. How soon do you think it's going to be before your file is that thick with write-ups, and then they're showing you where the door is? It's not going to be long. It's incredibly difficult for us as leaders, for any of us on this Zoom and in this team and in LifeVantage, for any of us to be able to lead a volunteer army. There are some of us that have been around longer than others, and that's the only difference. We've just been around a little longer. We may have a bit more information. We know the route a little clearer. Our roadmap is well defined. Following this roadmap, and it's not my roadmap, it's not David's roadmap, it's not Caleb's roadmap. This is the roadmap of Marcel Niederhauser. This is the same thing that got Everett Schilling to Pro 8, got Sherry Hollenbeck up there, got Clinton and Tony to Pro 9. This is the roadmap that they used, and it is the exact same today as it was when they first started 8 years ago. He is preaching the same message. He is teaching the same behaviors. These behaviors and this message that he has developed has come out of decades of network marketing experience. This isn't his first go-around. This is not his first rodeo. He's been at the top of a couple of other companies before leaving those to come on with LifeVantage because this was the biggest opportunity that he ever saw. So just being able to walk yourself down the path that we're trying to illuminate is key, and that should be at the core of your day-to-day operations. You've heard David and Caleb talk about your daily operations, income-generating activities, making sure that it doesn't have to be all day, every day. I think some people look at this and they get a bit overwhelmed. Start right now with getting your story figured out. Go get a good, in-depth, long, detailed story figured out that you'll have opportunities where you can share a long story. Then take those highlights, get it on paper. I encourage you to get it on paper because then it's easy to grab sentences off of that paper and transfer it to another piece of paper. Get that down to about 5 to 7 minutes, and then get that down to about 60 to 120 seconds. Get your short version, your medium version, and your long version, and that way you can share it. You can share any of those, shorter or longer, go more in-depth depending on how your conversation is going. But knowing your story, sharing your story is key. Because we are professional storytellers, and everybody knows that when you're sharing that story, you've got people that can relate. And when you make yourself vulnerable and you're sharing about yourself, that opens you up and lets them see that, wow, this individual they're a regular person. And that's that personability, and that allows, in a lot of cases, it allows barriers, allows walls to come down. It bridges that gap a lot closer and a lot sooner than it would take you if you were just sharing business information and product information and timing and the industry. And That's all great, and we have to share that. That's all part of a presentation. But knowing the key to sharing your story and having the keys to everyone else's story, you're going to hold in your hand a bag full of golden keys, and they're going to open a lot of locks, and you're going to see your pipeline getting fuller and fuller. And it's going to allow you to begin to advance down that road. And by you just demonstrating that, your new people are going to see how you do it. And what are they going to do when they jump on? They're going to see this opportunity, and how do they work it? They're going to work it how you worked it with them. It's all about duplication. Your bad habits and the poorer ways that you come at it with them are going to duplicate tenfold. But the good ways that you duplicate it, or the good ways that you come at it, are going to duplicate truly. And that's what we want. We're drawing like-minded people. We're drawing an incredible culture. I've never seen anything like this. That's why we have top income earners from other companies leaving where they've been building in other companies in this industry for 6, 8, 10 years. They're leaving their companies and they're coming on with LifeVantage. Where did that start? It started with somebody sharing their story with them. It started with a connection. So I encourage everybody, let's put it on paper. If you write your story on paper, you're going to have the details right there you can look at. Like I said, you can pick it apart, get a medium length version, get a short version, get that long version. You're going to find stuff you want to leave in, stuff you want to keep out, and then practice it. If you don't feel comfortable practicing on a prospect, on somebody you just met, or a friend or family, man, we're all great listeners. You can call any of us. Kim is an incredible listener. That lady is so awesome. Get her on the phone. David will listen. I will listen. And all you got to do is just call up and say, hey, I wrote this down. I want to run through it. Cool. We are silent. And if you want critiquing, we'll help you. We'll give you maybe some tips or tricks, or maybe, hey, I really like that part. It's really powerful. Sometimes it's things that you don't see as being powerful. Sometimes it's your story. I think about my story. I'm like, dude, what do I have to share? I mean, I'd rather talk about them. I'd rather talk about somebody else. You got to get past that. Your story weighs more than you will ever imagine until you begin to see it unfold in people's lives. So let's work it, guys. That's all I got for today. Story time. Become a professional storyteller. Pretend like every time you tell your story, you're trying to come up with the next best-selling, I don't want to say novel because we don't want it to be that long, but the next best-selling short story. You want it to bring tears to eyes. You want it to make people laugh. You want it to strike those emotions, because our life is built on moment-by-moment experiences and emotions. So let's get raw. Let's get real. Let's share it. So I'm going to turn this over to Caleb. Are you there, Caleb?
I am, guys, and I will be brief. First of all, Matthew, again, thank you. That is extremely powerful, super important for us to remember, guys. And I always go back to with my faith, the way that Christ taught. He didn't teach with facts, he taught with stories. We want to teach our kids something. We don't tell them nighttime facts, we tell them nighttime stories, right? Because that's what hits home, guys. I love it, Matthew. Thank you again for sharing your knowledge, sharing your power, man. I'm so excited for 2019. I love you guys. Merry Christmas.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out, you guys. Matthew, that was incredible. Definitely, Caleb, you're right as well. Every time that Jesus taught, he said the kingdom of heaven is like this and that and this and that, and that's a parable, okay? So here's one action step that I encourage every one of us to take today. Make a conscious decision to share a story with somebody today. It can be a part of your story. It can be a part of somebody else's story. It doesn't even have to be about LifeVantage. But something happens, like it's literally a decision. Whenever a memory is put in your mind of somebody's story, it can relate to this situation in somebody's life, and you bring out that story and you say, well, here's what happened to my friend, okay? Or I had a friend that did this, or I was actually in that situation myself. Here's what happened to me. Here's what I did. So I encourage everybody to take that one action step today. Make a conscious decision to share a story with somebody today. And especially because we are going into, Christmas. Today's Christmas Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas. It can be a story with somebody today or tomorrow at the Christmas dinner table, because you're going to be running into a lot of family today and tomorrow. So again, it doesn't have to be about LifeVantage, but just share your story. Remember, facts tell and stories sell. Okay. As you go through this week, you guys, here's something else I would like for you to review. 2018 is coming to an end. Now is the time, whenever you reflect on 2018 and you ask yourself what worked and what didn't work so well. Okay. So for the things that did work, I encourage you to focus on them more. Okay. And for the things that did not work so well, ask yourself, what was it about that did not work that well? And can you tweak that to make it work better? Okay. Now, if it's something that's outside the system that we are already teaching, then I encourage you to not do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Okay. Stick with the system, stick with the wheel that's already made. Okay. Like Matthew's talking about, share your story. That's a big part of the system. And then attending events, that's another big part of the system as well. So if it does not fit inside the system, if it's something that you've been doing, if you think to yourself, I need to figure out a way to do this, or I need to figure out a way to do that, then that probably means that it's outside the system. Okay. So I just encourage you to review what you've been doing and focus on the things that were working. Okay. And if you need some help figuring out the things that work, give one of us, your sponsors or another mentor, a call, and we'll help you to get back on track. So I love you guys. Thank you all for joining this week's Team Elite Weekly call. Merry Christmas. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys soon. Matthew, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
That's it, man. Just Merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy the time with family, with friends, the reason for the season. And yes. Let's stay together, man. Let's do this. You guys are awesome.
Love you guys. Let's crush it. Let's finish 2018 strong.
Amen.
All right. See you guys later. Yeah. Bye now.